Go to TAPgiles.com to learn dreams, engage my services, and support the channel. Okay, so I've got this character, and he runs around and doesn't do much at the minute. I've also got this timeline, which animates a forward roll and has like sound effects and stuff like that. Let's just have a button to trigger it. So let's say circle will trigger this animation. So it doesn't actually go anywhere, and it can kind of do stuff in the air. It can play in the air as well. So maybe you want that to not be able to start if we're in the air. So we could say from the puppet interface as on the ground, so it has to be on the ground and press circle. So on the ground and press circle to be able to play it. So now I can be in the air and it doesn't work. But if I'm in the air and then hold circle, then when I get to the ground it will play, because now I am on the ground and holding circle. So maybe you want to trigger it and say only do that if I start pressing circle while I'm on the ground. So we know if we start pressing circle by wiring that into a signal manipulator, and we can put that into pulse mode, and that means when I go from not pressing circle to pressing circle, give a pulse, which is a short signal basically. Just wire these the other way around and lay this out a bit better. So now if I'm in the air and press it, then this will just flash, and if I keep holding it and land, it's already flashed, so it's not saying this sending a signal anymore, so I won't actually get through to this roll animation. So jump and hold circle, nothing happens, and press circle while I'm on the ground and it does happen. Now we want to actually like move forwards or something, so let's do a mover like that, and it should like point forwards. So let's point that forward. Oh, let's have it on local space, because if it's not on local space, let's just point that forwards first. There we go. If it's not on local space, then it will not care if we're like facing a different direction, but we want it to be forwards all the time. So it's local space, and then make sure that's right again, and probably have a high strength on it. Yeah, so you roll from there to like there, and now when you press circle, we'll move forward as well. I'm betting something that doesn't help is the procedural animations, so I'll turn those off. It couldn't be a pose, could it? There are poses and stuff in here. What if I just turn that off? One last thing is you can spam the circle button and it will keep on triggering that animation. So what we can do is say during this animation you're not allowed to re-trigger it, and it's re-triggering because it's on once mode, so it will start from the beginning again every time it has no power, like because you're not holding circle and you start holding power. Yeah, so if we just turned this off, then it couldn't be triggered at all. So maybe during this movement thing, we can say you're not allowed to trigger it. So no trigger. Make sure it's on. So now if I spam circle, it's only doing one roll at a time. Cool. Cool, so now if I press circle, it does a forward roll. So, but how does it look when we are going up and down stairs, for example? So I'll just check if I can actually walk up it first. It's a little bit jumpy, but I mean, it's stairs, so it's probably fine. At least I'm not actually stopping at any point. Okay, now let's try rolling up the stairs. Cool. But so when it goes up, it's not too bad. But when you come down, it's just floating in midair like Wile E. Coyote. That's because this mover has damping on it, including like damping in the up and down. So if you were to just copy that over here, oh, and then we have no speed, you can see it's damping up and down as well. So if you have 0 on the Y damping, it's still damping it. Oh no. Oh, because Y is pointing out to the side for some reason. So if we now make sure that is actually pointing up, that'll make more sense. And now it's not damping in the up and down. So we do the same for the mover in here. Y, and make sure the Y is pointing up. Okay, and rolling still works. And then go down. Cool. So now it's not like flying into the air. If I go off to the side, it's falling and stuff, so that's cool. Actually, what I'll do is like move this stuff into here, that stuff as well. So all the movement stuff is in here and off. Or actually, you can just leave it on and put that into here, because we don't need the laser scope, don't need that, don't need these calculations or anything while it's not rolling. So we can just do that, and now it'll roll during this time in the timeline. And let's turn that off. But also, while rolling, you might want to say you're not allowed to turn. So at the minute you can like change directions during the roll, but you might want to say it's locked into that direction even if you're moving the stick. So for that we can do, or first we'll do a keyframe which turns off the turn speed. So I won't try to turn while we're rolling, like that. So now I'm like moving around the left stick. Like if I point forward, roll, and then move around the left stick while it's rolling. So I'm pushing left while it's rolling here, and it's ignoring it. But if you're like, you start to turn as you do it, then it will be kind of doing that weird turn during the whole thing, because it turns the turn speed off, but it doesn't stop it from rotating the way it's already rotating. It just stops the direction you're trying to walk from rotating it. So we also need something to dampen the rotation, like a rotator. And you set the target speed to 0 and the damping to full. And it actually doesn't matter which way this circle is oriented, it will still dampen the rotation on all directions, I believe. So if I like if I do one of these and then press circle during it, then it'll still dampen it to stop rotating. And now you're kind of locked into one direction. So that's pretty easy. And we can like do that as well. And all this stuff is to do with, it feels like all these are timed together, so I can just put that stuff in here. Make sure these are, keyframes are on. So what does that do again? Let's turn on invisible connections, and now it will show us the invisible wires. So that's like procedural animation stuff, puppet stuff, and yeah, and what does this do? Oh, it turns off, so we can just do that with that one. So puppet, settings, and poses off. And then you can just like time that out however you want. Maybe you want it there, or you want it shorter, or whatever. You just move it around, and all that logic will work during that time of the animation. Cool. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to learn something new every day.